When a fan's heart is full of hate, he butthurts, cries, and a dark shadow falls over this troll. From the ashes of a once great fandom has risen a meme, an LOL that must be liked. We look to the airwaves for a vindicator, someone to strike fear in the dark basement of the parents who created him. The battle between fan and smart has begun. With a head on his shoulders stands the smart fan, a speaker of truths, with a voice of silence, and a radio show of justice. This is Ring Rust.
So we got a show to pay-per review, and we got a show to pre-preview. So let's get into the review of WWE Clash of Champions from the WWE Network this past Sunday from the Bankers Life Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, Indiana. The pre-show match saw the Alicia Bai title was on the line as Alicia Fox attempted to wrestle Nia Jax, but, you know, Nia Jax is Nia Jax. She was fairly dominant in NXT, and she's remaining fairly dominant on the roster, RAW-STER, roster. And she's on Raw. Just, I don't know. Raw roster sounds like I'm a cheerleader or something. Works better in print. You're listening to Ring Rust Redux on Jabronology TV. Because shut up. And so next up, we have the Raw Tag Team Championships on the line, which saw Booty Rudy of the New Day, which is Biggie Langston and Kofi Kingston. Because, you know, they got their Rudy, their Tootie, and their Booty. Rudy is Kofi Kingston. Tootie is Xavier Woods because of the trombone. And Booty is Biggie Langston because... ... So they defended their tag team championships against WWE Bulletproof, which is Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, formerly of the Bullet Club in New Japan Pro Wrestling. So they can't call them the Bullet Club because that's trademarked somewhere else, and WWE likes making their own stars as much as possible while still taking the fame of somebody who is established somewhere else. Guess it makes sense. I mean, they treated Vader like he was a brand new star when they brought him in, a brand new star with history. So, you know, we'll just treat you like you're a new star, and then we'll refer back to this if we need to. Like, they don't say in WCW, they say in wherever it happened. Like, that was in reference to Mick Foley going up against, you know, tagging with and then feuding with Vader. And said, well, you know, he cost me my year in WCW. It's like, well, we can't really mention WCW, but we'll reference it somewhere down the road if we need to. So, anyway, well, that's the way of doing business, I suppose. Especially when it's on television, you don't want to talk about your competitor. It's like, oh, yeah, well, see, they used to be in WCW. We can't mention WCW, of course, but what do you mean I just mentioned WCW? Well, fine then. What shade of pink will my slip be? You're listening to Ring Rust Redux on Jabronology TV. Because it's fun. And not WWE, which you incessantly complain about anyway. So as long as it's not WWE, it should be wrestling that's fine by you. Probably won't be, because it's not WWE. So to recap, you'll be complaining about WWE, but you'll be complaining about this because it's not WWE. This is Fireball Mark Jabroni. You are listening to Ring Rust because wrestling fans. So next up for WWE Clash of Champions from the WWE Network, Saw T.J. Perkins defending his new Cruiserweight Championship against Brian Kendrick via submission. 10.5 minutes. Decent match. Certainly always a fan of the Cruiserweight division when they had it back in the day, as the kids call it. Remember back at WrestleMania 20, I think it was, where they had the Cruiserweight Invitational? They had the Chavo Invitational or something like that, because Chavo Guerrero was the champion. And they basically just had all the Cruiserweights wrestling each other, and then he swooped in at the end and pinned the guy who was the most tired. Because he was Chavo Guerrero. He was a bad guy. He was a Snidely Whiplash. So, that nasty Tarhelion. That's what I predicted. I predicted that T.J. Perkins would be defending his title, because you're not going to want the second first, I guess, because this is the second time they had the Cruiserweight Championship, and this is the first time they're crowning this Cruiserweight Champion, so he's the first Cruiserweight Champion, or the second Cruiserweight Champion, I guess. I don't know. I guess they wouldn't want to have the second first Cruiserweight Champion to be transitional, so he defended his title, maybe the next pay-per-view, maybe 2 or 3 pay-per-views down the road, maybe on Raw, since that seems to somehow be more important than pay-per-views. Emphasis on pay. But, oh well. You want to give it away for free, for ratings, which aren't what they used to be anyway, but I don't know. Maybe this time for sure, speaking of Snidely Whiplash. Although I don't think, Dudley Do-Right and Rocky Bullwinkle weren't really directly connected. Same animators, I think, but it's not like Dudley Do-Right was on, or was it? I don't know. Anyway, I don't remember. That was back in the 60s. I wasn't even alive in the 60s, but oh well. I remember watching it, though, on reruns and whatnot. So, hey, wrestling.
Pure electricity in my pants.
Oh, my.
This is Fat Boy Mark Cerrone. You're listening to Ring Rust. So, getting back to Clash of Champions on the WWE Network from this past weekend, the event that you saw it. You know, hopefully you did see it. If you're, hopefully you're not going to be swayed from not seeing it if you don't like what you hear me say, but it was a fun show. If you enjoy watching wrestling, then watch Clash of Champions. It's on the WWE Network. Pretty much. Did I keep the pay-per-views up indefinitely? Like, can you search for even WrestleMania from 2 or 3 years ago? Can you watch that WrestleMania? Or the first WrestleMania of the network was, 2 years ago? So say you wanted to watch that one. Would that still be up there? I guess probably would. Anyway, I never really got into the archive of the WWE Network. I had it for 3 or 4 months. I mainly just watched NXT and the pay-per-views, and I didn't really feel like I was getting the full value for it. I wasn't really interested, for whatever reason, in watching the rest of it. So, we had cable at the time, so that was probably it. If we didn't have cable when I signed up for it, if I had signed up for it since we stopped having cable, chances are I would have kept it. But oh well. Radio shrug. So, next up for Clash of Champions, says the final match of the best of 7, which pitted Sheamus against Antonio Cesaro. I did predict, though, that Cesaro would come out on top of this one and actually, win the best of 7, but it ended on referee stoppage. So it was a very interesting ending. Poor Cesaro landing on his head, but he seems to be all right with it. He's making jokes himself, posting memes of Ralph Wiggum being thrown through the Simpsons window. I'm a brick, with the caption Cesaro will be like, because he landed on his head. Anyway, Mick Foley made the interesting decision that there's not going to be a deciding match for their best of 7. They're just going to leave it at that, even though the best of 7 was determined who was going to be the number 1 contender for presumably the Universal title. But he said, you guys are going to be both the number 1 contenders for the tag team titles. Thumbs up. Cheap pop. Yeah, I'm sure they're not going to be done. I'm sure even now when they walk past each other down the hallway, they look at each other and smile and nod, and they think, there's no one like you.
This is a great catch, it's our
This is Fanboy Mark Cerrone. You're listening to Ring Rust. So, next up, Chris Jericho defeating Sami Zayn at the WWE Clash of Champions this past weekend. I did predict Sami Zayn would actually win that one because Chris Jericho was the kind of guy who doesn't really need to win to still be, I don't know, pertinent? Is that the right word? I don't know. Well, not complaining, certainly. I'm a big fan of Chris Jericho, so, who am I to complain? Bigger fan of Chris Jericho, actually, than Sami Zayn. Not that I don't like Sami Zayn, it's just, if I had to pick a top 5, I think Chris Jericho would probably be in it. So, hooray for Team Y2J.
This is 93.5 CHMR FM.
Ring Rust presents Macho Facts. Randy Savage gave the Mona Lisa that smile. And the Macho Man's hand is the only hand that can beat a royal flush.
So, if you're in charge of a Cinnabon, are you a Cinnamon admin? This is Fanboy Mark Cerrone. You are listening to Ring Rust. Would you be a Cinnabon admin? I guess. Anyway, if you're in charge of cinnamon distribution or a cinnamon tribute Facebook page, you'd be a cinnamon admin. Next up for WWE Clash of Champions on the WWE Network, saw Charlotte defending her Raw Women's title against Bayley and Sasha Banks in a triple threat match. I did foresee that happening. Not sure. I wouldn't have been disappointed if either of the other two ladies had won, but, that's how I saw it happening. She was going to retain her title. You were listening to Ring Rust Redux on Jabronology TV. This is Fanboy Mark Cerrone. You are listening to Ring Rust. So next up, the second last match for Clash of Champions this past Sunday on the WWE Network. Saw Roman Reigns defeating Rusev for the United States Championship. And I did see Rusev defending it for the time being at any rate. I didn't have any doubt that Roman Reigns wouldn't eventually win it. But like I keep saying, usually you don't win a title the first time you challenge for it. Usually. Not to say it doesn't happen, of course. It has happened a number of times. It's just, usually it doesn't. So, oh well.
Come on, I'm evolving here.
I'm a hemophiliac.
Yeah, I've had Windows boot up faster than you. Come on, gotta move on.
This is Fanboy Mark Cerrone. You're listening to Ring Rust, so we got one match left for Clash of Champions. I'm not liking my chances of reviewing too much in detail the Bound for Glory. So we'll see what happens with that, I guess. But the main event for Clash of Champions saw Kevin Owens successfully defending his Universal title against Seth Rollins. That's how I called it. Not really sure. Well, I certainly wouldn't have been too disappointed if Seth Rollins had won, but, he still got his revenge. The following night on Raw, he showed up and got a measure of revenge against Kevin Owens, because, well, he's freaking Seth Rollins.
Like me on Facebook, tinyurl.com/ringrust. Follow me on Twitter @MarkJabroni. And subscribe to Jabronology TV. YouTube.com/fanboy Mark Cerrone.
This is Fanboy Mark Cerrone. You are listening to Ring Rust on 3.5 Stage. Oh my God. I don't have time for this. What do you want? If I can have your attention, please. I just received an email from the ridiculous Ring Rust general manager. Forget about Bound for Glory and tell them about that tweet you received. Oh, well, yeah, okay. Well, tell you what, I mean, I can do a quick, like, really five-minute preview of Bound for Glory, so I'll leave it up to the magic smart ball that I got from ProWrestlingCrate.com. So, should I forego a Bound for Glory preview in order to tell the people about this tweet that I received? Delt Meltzer. So, yeah, I do. Regularly. So, fine. I'll just go ahead and talk about the tweet. If you want to find out about Bound for Glory, by all means, go look it up. I'm not the only person going to be talking about it. Mine's not the only show that's going to be talking about it. Mine's possibly going to be the only show that is mentioning it, but not really previewing it. So, it's happening Sunday. They're having financial problems, apparently. Eye roll. That may or may not exist or may not prevent the pay-per-view from happening in the first place. I'll wait and see, personally, but... So anyway, on to this tweet. I was watching the most recent episode of Ring of Honor, and I was just really enjoying Steve Corino's commentary. And he was talking about the Rule Breakers Convention, and how he was going to be... He was getting someone to be a guest speaker. And I tweeted, it's like, I want to be a guest speaker at the Rule Breakers Convention. Who would I need to talk to? At King Corino. And he responded with, can't reveal the secrets of the Rule Breakers Convention. I, in fact, have said too much. And then 4 or 5 other people commented on it, suggesting that, talking about it was breaking the rules in and of itself. So, yeah. Steve Corino.
That's it for another show, kiddies. Check me out on Facebook, where you can keep track of all the news that's right on the mark, from around ringside to the latest concerts. See you at the shows. Later days.
This is 93.5 CHMR FM.